Now, when Kevin Rudd's daughter Jessica sat down in a Beijing bar last year to pen her first novel, she could never have predicted the fictional story she was writing was set to become her father's reality.
Jessica's novel Campaign Ruby revolves around an election campaign where a fictitious Prime Minister, Hugh Patton, is deposed by his ambitious deputy, Gabrielle Brennan. Jessica Rudd joins us now from Sydney. Jessica, thanks for coming in.
Thanks. Good morning. Thanks for having me on the program.
Could you in your wildest literary dreams ever have imagined truth resembling fiction in such a dramatic, even spooky way?
No, not at all. In fact, when I sat down to write this book around about 12 months ago, I had absolutely no idea this was going to happen. I mean, Dad was on sort of stratospheric approval ratings and, so it was a bit of a shock when on the 24th of June I was in Canberra and found out what was going to happen, and quite a spooky reality, a bit sickening to be honest.
In fact, I read an interview where you said you felt somewhat responsible for those events in June when you learnt of what happened to your father.
Well, I mean, what a coincidence. So I picked up the phone to call my publisher and I said, Michael, my book's coming true. And he said, Jess, you didn't make this happen. And he's right. I set out to write a book that was going to make people laugh and something that people would enjoy. And it's about a young woman who finds herself on a federal election campaign, and she's a very clumsy young woman. And it's chick lit, it's a bit of fun. And I really hope that the reader enjoys it for what it is.
Well, your book paints a not too flattering picture of the Canberra political manure. It talks about unethical journalists, gruff, cranky political advisors. In that sense, it is more truth than fiction, isn't it?
Oh, well, you might say that. No, I think what I've
been
done
there, Jessica. I know all about it.
No, well, Michael, what I've done is I've taken a completely exaggerated approach to writing about contemporary politics because I just think that there's great comic potential in campaigning. And you would have seen that, all sorts of things can go wildly wrong. And I had just such great fun writing it.
And you had first-hand experience of the crucible that is a federal political election campaign in 2007, didn't you?
Yeah, look, I worked on the 2007 election campaign and it really helped inform some of the political narrative of this book. But, ultimately it's about a young woman and she loses her job and she finds herself doing something completely different and really enjoying herself. Has
your dad read the book?
Yeah, he says he's sort of 2/3 of the way through it, so I'm hoping he avoids the raunchy bits. I asked the publisher if they could put together a sealed section version for Dad, and I'm hoping that they've done that because it would just be too weird.
And has he told you what he thinks about the political plot?
Yeah, well, he's really enjoying it. It's a fun read, and
it's not too hard for him at the moment to read something so prescient.
No, not at all. In fact, I think all my family are just enjoying paying me out at the moment. And Marcus, my youngest brother, said to me recently if I could write that he won the lotto. So, I'm not Paul the Octopus, but it's been so much fun to work on.
Is it fair to say, Michael, your publisher is perhaps Australia's most happiest man at the moment, given he's launching this book, given recent events and in the teeth of the final days of an election campaign?
Yeah, look, we have a really good working relationship, Michael and I, and I've really enjoyed working with Text. And at the end of the day, they're a business and they want to sell books, and I want to sell books too. I really want to make a career out of writing, and I hope that people pick it up and read it for what it is, rather than reading into it.
How's your father doing?
He's doing great. I'm so proud of him for getting through what has been a difficult period. But we as a family know that, Australians go through very difficult things every day. And this has been difficult for our family, but, it doesn't compare to suffering from a terminal illness or something like that. So, a bit of perspective really helps.
How do you feel as his daughter when he's criticised sometimes quite vociferously by people, often within the Labor Party, given recent events?
Well, it's part and parcel of politics, isn't it? When you make the decision to enter public life, you open yourself up to a whole range of criticism. And this is something that I try to cover a bit in the book, some of that real public exposure and the impact that can have on a family, on an individual, on a party and on friends. Max Masters, who is the leader of the opposition in this book, in Campaign Ruby, he deals with some pretty tough criticism, but, he cops it. Because he should. It's public life.
Max Masters, of course, wins in the end. You're hoping as
Did you just give away the end of my book, Michael, on air?
Well, he
Thanks very much.
He might win. Let's just hypothesise if Max Masters, the opposition leader, wins the election as a Labor Party supporter,
very smooth,
which I suspect you are. That's obviously something you hope wouldn't like to see coming out to be true.
Look, I'm not here to comment on real contemporary politics. I'm a novelist, I'm not a political journalist, so I'll leave that to you, Michael. I don't know what's going to happen.
You have been a writer, though, in the sense that you've written a piece recently for the women's magazine Madison where you took issue with people writing about your father being driven by anger. You obviously have grown up with him. How do you respond when you see claims like that?
Well, I just know that my dad is a man driven by compassion. That's the truth. I've seen what motivates him. I saw him, for example, when he came back from Darfur, when he was in opposition. I remember the look on his face and what he wanted to do about it. This is a man who is driven by compassion, not anger. I took issue with it because it's just not true.
Is your father looking forward to playing a senior role in a re-elected Gillard government if Julia Gillard wins on Saturday?
Don't know, mate. You'd have to ask him that. I'm just here to talk about my book. I'm not a spokesperson for my dad. He's very capable of speaking for himself, as you probably would have seen over the last few years.
We have indeed. And finally, you are launching the book today. Will you and your father be there at the launch?
Yeah, I'm so excited. All my family and friends are going to be there in Brisbane at a little bookshop, Riverbend Books, where I spent a lot of time as a kid. So I just can't wait.
Jessica Rudd, it's a great read. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Michael. Good to be with you.